so delighted to welcome A, who's going to be our guest of the dialogue today. So maybe, Sophia, you can pin A so everybody could see, and then I will share a little bit about my interactions with A. A, thank you so much. We are delighted to have you
Thank you, Atul. Thank you
join
so
us
much.
today.
I'm truly honored to be the guest for you today, and lovely to see all the team and the all familiar faces as well. If I haven't said hi to you guys, lovely to see all of you again. Thank you, Atul.
Fabulous. Thanks very much. So let me introduce A, but I will not talk about his CV. By the way, I think there's a lot about A you can read on LinkedIn and you can get to know him because he's an accomplished leader who's left a mark in every organization he's worked for. He's worked in Asia, he's worked in Europe, he's worked in global roles. I mean, you name it, you name the top organizations, he's been in top roles in those companies. My connection with A goes back probably over 10 years, little over 10 years, maybe even longer, 12 years or so. And I had the opportunity to work with on the same team, and we met, in a very professional, in a very work kind of environment. And then slowly I started to kind of get to know A, the sensitive side of A, the kind of human he is, what makes him who he is. And I started to get kind of inspired by what he stands for. So I always say this, when I started envisioning LEH and started designing these programs which we run and interventions or initiatives we run, I always think of people who came into my life, people who touched my life, inspired me, and how they showed up and what did they do differently. And that's what started to shape our programs, our interventions, our initiatives. A is one of those big influences. So I'll just talk very briefly about two incidents which are so deeply etched in my head of my interaction with you. So the first one was, it was in Jakarta. I was traveling with A. A was part of my team, and there were some massive shifts or changes in the business strategy. And we were on a flight, and we were pretty intense about how we are going to announce and discuss and align with people because we were moving from a certain model. Those of you in the business would understand, every 4 or 5 years, companies change their structure and approaches, and it always impacts people. On the other end, you have humans, and behind the humans, you have their families, and their families are humans like us. So we were talking about that. And then we go to this office. First time, by the way, for me to go with A into that office. And I see this whole HR community flocking around him. It's like the birds coming together. And he got snatched away from me. So they just took him away from me. And they were chatting with him and connecting with him. And I was just standing on the side observing. Uh, they knew that this was a big movement. This was going to be a big impact on a lot of people in the organization. Yet, when they looked at him, I could see in their eyes hope, reassurance of having someone from their own who's there to support them through their change and what they were going to lead. So it is so deeply connected with me when I saw your team just reaching out for you, not really thinking of what does it mean for us and how we lead this change and all that. So I can't forget that one moment. The other moment was in Hanoi, and I think this was 2015. And we had a HR meeting, and I think I ended up saying something harsh in that meeting. And you walked out of that room. And I don't know whether you remember that conversation or not. And then I didn't even realize that A was not in the room. So it was a difficult conversation. There was some topic we were discussing, and A walked out of the room and he never came for next 30 minutes or so. I ended up checking with the team that I don't see A where he is, and somebody said, well, he walked out. And I walked out of the meeting room to find him, and I saw him very sensitive and emotional in a corner. And that told me the power of sensitivity at work. We so underestimate who we are, we don't bring it forward. So seeing him emotional, I got emotional. So we spent about 30 minutes sitting outside in the lobby of that hotel. I don't know, wherever it was. acknowledging that I shouldn't have said what I said in that meeting, and what did that mean for a person like A, who actually looked at me not as a leader, as a business professional, but as someone who would be standing next to him versus just throwing stuff which I don't even remember the context. But I think the power of being who you are and bringing your whole self to work, which, by the way, now in my programs I talk about, is when I saw A in that space. And I think our relationship became even more tighter, more stronger from that time onwards. And then I've been following his growth as I've seen him going from place to place. He left that organization, joined Unilever, moved on to join their global leadership team. And I always admired, and I was, pleasantly surprised to receive him in Chicago about a couple of years back. We got to meet each other. So I think these stories make us who we are, but many times we choose not to tell our stories because stories inspire others. And once we tell stories, people get inspired and they get a permission to live their lives in a certain way. So that's the whole purpose. With that, I'm going to hand it over to A with a deep gratitude, A, for joining us today. Over to you.
No, thank you, Atu. And the moment you told the story, um, also bringing back memories of that particular afternoon in Hanoi, actually. Um, so thank you, Atu, for being there and coming out of the room to really, have that open conversation with me. So thank you. Right. Good morning to all of you, and good evening, good afternoon to all of you as well. Please allow me just to share a little bit about myself. Next slide, please, Sophia. So, this is Ali in the fancy, more colorful person you can see there. He's my lifetime partner. We've been together for more than 25 years now, right? And probably what I would love to tell you about myself and Ali is that I realized who I am, when I was probably 3 years old. I love to hide in my mom's closet and try on her high heels and probably play with her makeups when she's not around. I grew up in a family. I have all the siblings are uh, you know uh, females, and I'm the only male in the family, and I have to hide myself and pretend to be somebody else. And then I realize, I need to love myself first, and there's nothing wrong for being me as who I am. So, I came out to my parents when I studied high school, and I told them who I am. Even though they were shocked. And by the way, my dad is my hero. He's somebody I always look after too. And he's a kind of person who always think of others first, not for himself, right? And I never, see my mom and dad fighting at all. And the moment I told them, that was the first time in my life that I saw my dad cry, right? And that conversation didn't really go anywhere. But eventually we make up for it. But it took me almost 2 years to be able to start talking to my parents again. Anyway, and these are some of the hobbies that I do. And I'm an introvert, as you can see, INTJ. So for me to be able to spend time with myself, or spend time with Ali, home is my sanctuary. Which is why, when I finish work, close down my laptop, I leave my work at the office, and then I come home and I play with Ali. Next slide, please. So these are my career history, and like Atul said, you can actually see on my LinkedIn. But I think what I would like to share with all of you here I'm actually super grateful for all my bosses in the past who trust and believe in me, right? I have done market roles, I have done regional roles, I have done global roles, but I wouldn't be able to be who I am today without their confidence and their belief that I can do whatever they ask me to do, right? So a tool throw me into the buses and I'll come back alive, and I think with all the first time experience that really shaping me. So I would encourage all of you, if your boss actually asks you to do anything, to say yes, because they actually taking more risks than you, right? Because what if you fail, right? They will be the one responsible, accountable for the deliverables of such work. So I'm really, again, Atul, thank you so much, and for providing me such the opportunity, to grow myself and be who I am. Next slide, please. So this is my life purpose. After I realized who I am and I came out to my parents. So, I promised to myself that, my purpose would be, I want to make a difference for people that I love and the organization that I work for, particularly helping, colleagues in the organization to realize their personal purpose. And which then link to the next slide, please, which is my personal values and belief, and being me who I am, which is why honesty is the most important, and integrity. I believe trust is very important. Also believe that self-awareness comes with listening skills. And another one which is I would like to call out as well is respect people from all walks of lives. I try not to judge anybody because people are different and they are unique. So that's how I live, and I bring these values to work, and how I live my life every day. Next slide, please. And I have also a big dreams. I would love to be able to see a Thai or a Southeast Asian talent being appointed to a global leadership team of the company I work for one day. While I was working for Cadbury, I was the first Thai and the first Asian to be in the global headquarters in London. That was back in 2008. And again, with Unilever, I was the first, Thai, the first Southeast Asian, and probably the first gay man to sit at the global HR leadership team of Unilever. But unfortunately, I haven't been able to send somebody to the global leadership team of that particular organization yet. But I'm still dreaming about it, and hopefully, I will be able to send someone, there. Next slide, please. And this is my favorite quote from the Buddha, right? Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moments. And I try to live this myself every day. And I always grateful with what I have, with a great mentors and friends, such as Atu and the new friends that I made, through Atu. So I forever grateful. Thank you. That's it, Atu.
All right, thank you so much. What an inspirational story. And when you were talking about specifically your values, the integrity, the trust, kindness, respect for others, I saw it every day, every moment, every single interaction, not only with me, but part of the broader team. And I know that I have some of our colleagues who work together. I can see Jonathan, Shuhun, I think Neetu is also on the call. And I know that they will vouch for it. Every interaction with you was a pleasant gift, if I may say so. So I think there's so much to learn and so much to get inspired from in terms of how we can live our life full of meaning and still create an impact. So the next phase of this dialogue session is going to be some questions. So we have a lot of questions which we received from the audience when we went on our social media handles about the dialogue. which I will bring up. This is the time I'm also going to ask our audience that if you have any questions for A, please put it in the dialog box. Uh, he'll be happy to answer. I mean, we'll be discussing, so we'll bring up those questions. And then, of course, I have my own questions while he's a kind of book which will never finish. So I continue to read. So I'll have my own set of questions for A. But I think I'll start A with a question which we received from the audience, and I'll give it a little bit of my own twist because it was also something in my mind to check with you.
Mm.
You know, in the present times when the focus is so much on commercial success, navigating the corporate environment, and you worked in very senior roles in the global teams, so on and so forth, how do you keep your value system intact? Show up every day with your values, live your values, yet deal with the complexity which comes with an environment which is full of, uh, you know, competition, commercial success. How do you stay true to yourself in the middle of all of that?
Um, I believe the one person you cannot lie is yourself, right? So, when you cheating or something, you try to check whether people seeing you doing it. But the one person that you cannot lie is yourself, right? You know that you are doing it. So when I quit, get up every morning, and I ask myself, okay, and I thank for, I'm wake up the next morning, and I can continue doing the work that I love doing, and I really believe that, I can help, even small thing make an impact to one individual life. That's all it's really matter to me. Of course, I do, realize the politics around the organization. Um, but I told myself that's not me, and I just don't want to be one of them, and I will always stay true to myself. And I personally, I have two questions that I always ask to myself. Is it the right thing to do for the organization?
Yes.
And is it the right thing to do for our people, not just for one single employee? If I have to do something, for one single employee, and I can't explain to the rest, I wouldn't do it. Too. Yeah.
Well said. So well said. And in such simple words, it's very difficult for people to really step back and connect with yourself. As you said, there's only one person you can't lie to, and that's yourself. And you have to live with yourself for the rest of your life, you like it or not. So you better like the version you are, so that you can enjoy that journey with yourself. I
Yeah.
think so well said. Tell me, I'll now shift gears. One of the toughest situation you were faced with in your professional career, where there was a conflict of your personal values with what you were expected to do, and how did you deal with that?
Um, I probably share with you the latest one that's happened. Uh, 24 months ago, 18 months ago, when I, seeing the changes in the HR operating model, and I don't think is the right designed for the HR function as a whole. Um, so I stood up and I wrote a paper to senior stakeholders and tell them why, but also giving them options. And it took me about 18 months to convince the senior stakeholders. Even my team, um, they thought that I was crazy. And I asked myself, right, am I doing the right thing? Yes, I'm doing the right thing. I was fighting for what was right, for the HR organization. Even, going forward, it with me or without me, you know, because it has a huge impact on 2,000 people, HR people around the world. Um, So eventually the senior leaders, stood up and recognized that A was right. And there were many times I feel like I was, alone in a tiny boat out in the middle of the ocean, nowhere, fighting a storm myself. And there were days I asked myself too seriously, what am I doing?
Yes.
You know, how do you feel about fighting this alone? Because I really feel, fighting all this alone, and I feel so much. Um, I feel so much. I feel very responsible actually for my team as well, right? For not being able to enable them to do the great work that they can do, knowing that they can actually do. Um, but eventually, I was managed. The leaders recognized that it was right, and but eventually, that almost causing my mental and physical well-being,
Wow.
right? And it reaches the point when one morning in July, Ali was back in Thailand doing his teaching work, and he called me. We call each other a number of times a day, as you know. And he called me to wake me up, and I answer his first time call, and then he asked me, "My dear, why you look so unhappy, and why are you so sad?" That's it, Atu. I was broke down and cry. I feel that I had enough, right? And it reaches the point that I hate myself, to be honest. And I told this to the leaders and my team that I had enough. I hate myself. This is not the version that I like myself. I wanted myself to be in. So I decided to do what's right for me. So I said, thank you. I just need to go home. I pack my bag and I come home. And I realized, right, that at the end of the day, you need to do what's right for you as well, not just what's right for what you believe is the right thing to do for the organization and people in your team or the function. And I took that decision to look after myself. It's time for me to look after myself, and you also then realize it's only people who love you will then be with you throughout difficult times, and any organization can replace us anytime, right? And it was a great life lesson actually to just to look into myself and really ask myself, are you happy?
Amazing.
And I reached the point where I hate myself, and that was not healthy.
Amazing, amazing. By the way, again, a request to audience. Any questions, please bring it up in the dialogue box. It's a great opportunity. I mean, what a simple, nice way you just explained. By the way, in my programs, we have actually half a day of a
Mm,
session on self-compassion,
yeah,
which you
yeah.
explained in like 30 seconds so very well. So another learning for me to compress my words when, when I tell stories. It is a better way to talk about self-compassion than
Yeah.
what we do. But I think you said it so very well. That's what makes us human, and that's what makes us who we are. That's what brings sustainability in our impact.
Mm,
Because there is this, again, I talk about this expectation or narrative around leadership that you
mm,
got to be tough, you got to be
yeah,
taking care of everybody else. But in the
yeah.
process, people just forget themselves and lose that
Mm,
connection of who they
mm,
are and how they
mm,
feel in that moment, which
yeah,
then starts to build up over a period of time. And I've seen, like I'm sure you would have seen people struggling with themselves at a certain
yeah.
stage in their career when they're supposed to peak and they're supposed to have
Mm,
a bigger impact. So I
yeah.
think it's very, very well said. I have a related question, that managing your own energy.
Mm,
So especially during tough situations, uh, with compassion also comes energy in terms of showing up because people are looking up to you, uh,
Yeah.
especially during tough times. In your roles, people are looking for hope, people are looking for inspiration. What do you do to manage your own energy while dealing with the complexities of our current business world?
Mm.
Some practices
Yeah,
you can share with the team.
sure. I think first of all, and for me, I think you need to do what you love, so you can actually enjoy and I'm very passionate in terms of what I do, and super passionate in terms of making a difference, right? If you ask me to do something the same, you know, I wouldn't do it, right? Because I'm the kind of person that I would love to leave the organization or the team that I join better when I leave them. Um, and of course, there are days that I feeling down or wondering what am I doing? But then I would actually then go back to my purpose, right? Why am I here? And I also, I'm lucky to have a life partner like Ali, who's so understanding. He would be the one also telling me, hey, you're not doing what you are saying you want to do, and just he keep pulling me back in terms of who I am and what I would like to do. I also meditate twice a day. So I meditate 5:30 to 6 in the morning, and 10 to 11. And throughout the day, I also do chanting too, and that's what I do. Um, but I more importantly, when I close down my laptop and leave the office, I leave the work there. I don't bring work back home because otherwise I would take them to bed with me. so so I just leave it at the office, and because the next morning it's still there, so you can still pick it up the next morning, and just try to make sure that you look after your well-being, um, you know, as well. Yeah, very
So,
simple. The two.
so
Yeah.
you make it sound simple, by the way. It's not as simple as you said. You just make it sound simple because that's the way of life, for you. And I truly wish that a lot of us, especially those who are starting their life journeys, can learn from your experiences and the way you are actually explaining this. I mean, I can feel it's coming from your heart. It's coming from living the life in a certain way, which you do every day. So it's so natural and easy. And I truly hope that people can learn to make it a part of their being instead of just thinking and acting on this is what will help me. So well
Yeah.
said. So I see a question coming up, and this is from my good friend Sriram. And so I'm going to ask Sriram if you can go unmute and bring it up for everybody.
Hey, it's wonderful to get to know you, and I thank Atul
Thank you,
for
sir.
giving this opportunity to get to know you and your wonderful story. You know, there are so many successful people that professionals that we see on career terms. They have reached wonderful goals. They have accomplished very difficult targets, and people really look up to them in the professional context. So they are eminently successful in the corporate. But on the other side, when you look at them on other dimensions of life, in terms of family or community, they have not done so well, or they really struggle to look at that. So why is this, paradox of being very successful in one dimension of life? What is the blind spot that such people have, which doesn't enable them to see, that there could be other, aspects in life where they also need to do well? And if that is so, can people who are close to them, point them in the right direction and point out their blind spots? And how could people reach out to them? People who really care for them. Otherwise, how would in your experience, have you had any this thing of people reaching out and venturing? That was my question.
No, thank you, sir. So, um, I think for me, number one, you need to love yourself and you need to love what you do. And for me, very simple, right? I always treat other people like how I want to be treated. And with work, People won't remember what you did, but what they will remember is how you feel. So for me, whether I see a tool, 10 years ago or another 10 years from now, I'm sure I will run to him and give him a big hug. And for me, that's all it matters, right? People won't remember, that big transformation you did. You helped the organization grow 100% or whatever, but people will always remember who you are. And for me, every time when I travel to different places, for ex-colleague who knows that I'm coming, they will be very upset if I don't reach out to have dinner with them. So for me, that how I just live my life, and hopefully that with a little touch of me in their life, they will be, they will smile a little more. That's so.
Amazing. Thank you. Thanks so much. So I have another question in the dialogue box. I had, by the way, a couple of my questions, but I think those can wait. Rajat, if I may request you to come off mute and bring up your question.
Yeah, hi, thanks. Hi, great knowing you and really wonderful understanding your thoughts and truly appreciating, these aspects. While you were talking, I was reflecting on a point, and this situation, I'm sure many of us go through, at least I have gone through many a times, where typically you're supporting your teams, you are aware that you have to be humane to them, you are delivering, but there is a management sitting at the top who says, hey man, you are a people manager, you're a soft guy, you're not a taskmaster. You don't know how to run the business. How can you be a strong leader? Uh, any thoughts there? How do you balance this?
I think, first of all, I think we all should understand the business that we are in, regardless of your function.
Yeah.
Right? And but for us, the people function, we just need to be able to provide the people solution to solve business problem. That's what I believe. And Atul can tell you it can be very tough. But I think for me, I think you can really care, for others and people in the organization. But you can also be very tough at the same time for doing the right thing, Rajat. Thank you, sir.
Right. Thanks. Thank you.
Right. So this is a nice and easy explanation, because I also, through my own career journey, felt a lot of those situations where sometimes the lines between compassion and accountability blur. And even I say it today also to my team, compassion doesn't mean that you will compromise accountability, or you will not hold yourself and others accountable for what they are designed or expected to deliver. But I think there's a very fine balance which you maintain, and I've seen you doing that so very well, as you rightly said. Not shying away from doing what is the right thing to do in that moment, not shying away from having what we call courageous conversations or difficult conversations when those need to happen. Not shying away from setting the boundaries in terms of what is acceptable, what is not, so that in the longer term you can sustain a way of living, a way of being without letting people get impacted by that. So I think many leaders, I mean, Rajat raised a great point that many leaders struggle with that. And I've seen it in my kind of long career, where to draw the line. Either they go to left, where they don't even know how to keep the boundaries and how to make people deliver what they are supposed to deliver, or they go extreme right, they lose sensitivity, compassion, or care for other people, forget that they're not humans. So it's a real reflection of and I've seen you, watched you both when we worked together, but even after that, how you can balance it so beautifully. I mean, I always felt that compassion makes you more empowered to make the toughest choices in your life and career than lack of compassion. So that's very, very well said. I see another question, and I think it's Bijesh. Bijesh, do you want to come off mute and share your question?
Hi, good evening. Very interesting to this listen your logic and what are the behind your thoughts. So one thing I would like to understand from you, because in the personal slide you have quoted the Buddha, that is the being present, don't out for the think for the future. But unless you make efforts or dream for the future, how you can convert the reality into this conversion of dream into reality? Because if you present whatever the things will come in present, that you will handle that situation only, but you will not think about future. So this philosophy or the logic is slightly this I'm not able to understand properly, because, and so I would like to understand your views. What is the reason behind this philosophy?
Yeah. Personally, I believe future is the results of what you do today. So if you do your best today, the future will come. Of course, I do have vision in terms of what I would like to be, or what I would like to do for the organization. But I also leave myself for today, and I ask myself, have I done enough today, or have I done the best I can today? Of course, there are days that I can do it, and there are days that I can't do it. Right? There are days that I would like to scream, but at least I try to be my best every day, and the future that I wish I would be will come eventually. Yeah.
Perfect. So I have now a couple of my questions. Finally, I get to ask my own questions to you. So I see in the present world, which is very dynamic. I mean, always, I think we used to say when we were growing up in our own careers that the world is ambiguous, dynamic and all that. But I think now with the geopolitical changes, the new kind of ways of hardening stances and territorial kind of mindsets, what is the advice you would have for people who are going to start their career journeys now, coming into this world, which is not as connected, as fluid as probably when we grew up? What would be your advice to those who are starting their journeys to, do everything which you are doing or you're standing up for, being authentic, being real, being human, being compassionate, in a world which is not conducive as much as it should be? What's your advice to them?
Yeah. So I think number one, I would advise them to be a glass half full, or be a sponge where, your leaders or families or your loved ones can still, pour more water into the glass. And I would also advise them to, love themselves, looking after themselves, but also, care for their loved ones. Often, we care for colleagues at work or people we don't know much more than people who love us, right? When our parents, they actually asking us kindly whether you have dinner yet or not, you probably ignore not answering them or say something bad to them that hurt their feeling. But for the same questions, if somebody at work asking you, you may not even know that person well. You probably reply very politely back to that individual. So for me, I think caring for your loved ones is really important, and because you don't know how long you will have them around you. And in bad time, they will be the one who actually care for you. That would be my advice or two.
So well said. This conversation should go on, I think. I'm just loving the feeling which you're able to convey in such a simple way. I have another question for you, You very lovingly talk about your relationship and connection with Ali. who's, kind of your rock. You can fall back on him. He can
No,
be.
he's my pillow actually.
He's your pillow and rock. And then you talked early on in the conversation about your father and his influence on you. And I think we all need those people around us. I mean, in the end, for whatever strength we talk about, humans, all of us have our own fragility inside, which needs hand-holding, which needs support, and which needs inspiration. So besides your dad, Ali, who are the other big influences in your life as you grew up? People you looked up to, living or not living, people close to you or beyond, people who, who gave you inspiration, who gave you hope, who gave you dreams to dream. Who are those? What are those influences?
Yeah, and again, I would still say my dad, my mom, and Ali are two, and I am who I am because of them, right? And also my bosses in the past, including yourself, that allowed me to flourish and giving me the opportunity, to be able to stretch myself and learn and make mistakes, right? And learn from all of you. I think that's what keeping me grounded and stay true to myself and be who I am. Job title or position, it's just a job title and position, right? One day when you are no longer having those job title or position, you are nobody. You're just you. And if you don't respect yourself and if you don't love yourself or make that connections with people surrounding you, then you will be having a difficult time just trying to realize who you are, I believe.
So well said. So well said. So, give us some practical tips so that we all can, get better at it. How do you deal with disappointment? Sometimes we all expect things to go in a certain way and they don't. Uh, and that's also, to my mind, a test or a kind of moment for the leaders to step up and show up in a certain way. So, how do you personally deal with disappointments?
Of course, I'll be very upset first. Too, it's we are human, right? When thing doesn't go as planned, and I'm a perfectionist, right? I love to plan everything, and actually Ali, teach me a lot because he's actually totally opposite me in every way. And of course I will be upset, but then I just pause, and pull myself out of the situation, and then I ask myself, what can I do? What can I learn from the situation? And how can I do it better next time? We are human, we are not perfect, right? So I'm still learning every day or two. Yeah.
That's true. And then, again, another just curious question. I mean, you've stepped out of your comfort zone many times, and personally having lived kind of a similar life like yours, coming out of your comfortable surroundings, your comfort zone, stepping out into different organizations, different geographies, different countries, different cultures, but not losing yourself in the process. Because I saw a lot of people who lose their kind of connection with who they are because there is this anxiety to fit in to a new environment. There is this anxiety to seek approval or build
Yeah.
like likeliness that wherever I go, I should quickly be able to blend into that environment. So this takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of comfort in being yourself and not losing yourself in the process of growth. I mean, it's a complicated question, but the reality is that growth doesn't come from ready to leave your roots. It comes from staying true to your roots and then having the comfort to expand and explore what is possible. So would you like to share a little bit about your experiences stepping out of your comfort zone without losing connection with yourself. What one or two tips you would like to give to those people who have those aspirations or dreams to grow beyond their boundaries?
Yeah, so probably a few things too. First of all, let me share with you my experience when I did my first global jobs with Cadbury's. You know, as a Thai, I tend to probably, and I'm generalized here, probably, you know, not asking or express a lot of my opinions, you know, in meetings, because I feel when somebody in that meetings already expressed themselves, you know, with similar ideas, and I don't want to repeat that again, right? But then my ex-boss, you know, then she called me and say, "Hey, but if you don't express yourself or ask questions, how would people know what you think?" Right? So that was an aha moment for me. And then I start, you know, challenging myself, right? That I need to stretch myself out of my comfort zone, that I challenge myself that in every meeting, whether online or face to face, you know, at least I need to ask something or say something. and I still doing that today actually too, because you know it's very, very uncomfortable, right? To be able to do that. That's point number one. Point number two, I think respect yourself, who you are, is very important, and you need to be comfortable with who you are. And you know, for me, I believe, you know, people will realize who you are and accept who you are, you know, over time when actions speak more than words, and they will realize that, hey, okay, this person is actually, you know, very consistent, and somebody who who you might want to look at him differently. That's it, too.
Amazing. So well said. You know, I'm still fascinated, how you simplify and how you pick your words to explain your message in such a succinct and effective way. So thank you for sharing that. And I think you just captured it so very well. Not losing connection with yourself, but still being open to learn when you have the opportunity to learn and hence expand your impact. So, the world has discovered a lot of gifts which you bring on the table. So, and they've benefited from that. Tell us one thing, one skill, one capability which the world around you doesn't know, so that we can know.
One skill that the world doesn't know about me.
Yeah, which is yet to be explored.
Okay, I have a dream that I would love to be a shoe designer, and I would love to take a class. And I haven't had the opportunity to do that yet. So it's still on my to-do list. So I want to design shoes. That would be my you know, future hobbies probably, or second jobs.
Amazing. Well, you have some potential clients already on the call. So when you decide, just let us know and we'll be out.
Thank you, sir.
I have more questions, by the way. Probably one last opportunity for the audience. We are very close to the end of the session. Anyone, if you have any more questions, also including LEH team, it's a great opportunity to engage with A and get his perspective. Feel free. Maybe one more minute and one question I can take. And you can simply come off mute and just shoot your question. Anyone? 10 seconds. Otherwise, I'm going to fill this space. I've got a lot here. Okay, so I'm claiming back the last question. Thanks to everyone. So, okay, No questions, just a reminder that there can be only one A. And
Oh,
guess
dear
what?
Neetu, thank you.
This is Neetu. Neetu, why don't you come off mute and tell him that he's going to love it.
I have a reputation to protect, so I can't be saying nice things. And so I just messaged him one-on-one to say I don't know how he's aged backwards. It's so unfair.
Miss you, my dear. Miss you.
It's just you put things across so simply and so sweetly. And what's fascinating to me about A is I think he's the one manager I reported to for the shortest period of time. But it was just amazing. You have loyalties bought. I mean, there is,
Oh,
there is a just the empathy and Atul, this is the zero-based budgeting time, So we were all just meeting and we were upset and angry, and then A would come into these meetings, and then we were upset and angry at ourselves for being upset and angry. So it was just amazing. It's lovely to hear you today.
Fabulous.
thank you, my dear. Thank you.
All right. Well, as I said earlier, thanks so much, Neetu. And, as I would love to continue this conversation, but I think I'll find another time. We are coming to the end of this session. I can't thank you enough for joining us today. Deepest gratitude for being there, for being so transparent and so authentic. I mean, the whole topic was authentic leadership, but I think you kind of lived that during last 1 hour, and in very simple ways, as Neetu said, bringing to life some of the deepest learnings, which probably seem very simple but very difficult to demonstrate or live every day. So thank you for being who you are. Thank you for being our friend and someone we can lean on, someone who can inspire us to keep living the life full of values and meaning. Thanks to the audience for joining us. It's been amazing conversations, and I can't thank you enough for your trust and your belief in what we do. This is what keeps us going. This is what we need for people to come and be part of these dialogues and conversations and help us extend the new narrative of leadership. Uh, our next guest, if I may bring up Irish very quickly, the slide is going to be another friend who has been inspiring the world around him, and his name is Dave. He's going to be joining us in April. So please sign up as we start to put it on our social media handles. Thanks so much again, and I so look forward to catching up very, very soon with you. Thanks for joining
Thank you,
us.
sir. Thank you. Kabun Kap.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Namaste. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.